What happens when one of Hollywood's most beloved actors finally snaps? Live. On national television. When the cameras keep rolling and millions are watching, some moments etch themselves into the culture not for their charm, but for their chaos. This was supposed to be a routine appearance, a bit of light late-night banter. Instead, it became a flashpoint that left studio audiences stunned and sent ripples through the entertainment world. It started like any other show. Jimmy Kimmel greeted Hugh Jackman to thunderous applause. After some warm, small talk about flights and weather, Jimmy shifted gears with a glint in his eye. "So, Hugh, you're back on Broadway, which is fantastic," he said. "But I have to ask, and our audience is dying to know. Is it true you only took this role because the movie offers have been drying up lately?" Hugh smiled politely, but a beat of silence hung in the air. "Well, Jimmy, that's not really accurate," Hugh replied calmly. "I chose this project because I'm passionate about theater. I wanted to return to my roots." Jimmy leaned in, his tone mock conspiratorial. "Come on, though. Between you and me, when was the last time you got offered a leading role in a major studio film?" Let's be honest here. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Hugh didn't flinch, but his voice hardened slightly. "I think you might be misinformed about my career situation. I've got multiple projects in development." Jimmy laughed, but there was nothing warm in it. "Multiple projects in development. That's Hollywood speak for unemployed. Right, folks?" He turned to the audience, fishing for a laugh. A few chuckles came, but they were uneasy. Then Jimmy went further. "Seriously, Hugh, there've been some rumors about why you really left the Wolverine franchise. Some say it wasn't exactly your choice." Hugh's jaw tightened. "I think I've been clear. It was my decision to step away after 17 years. That's a long time in one role." Jimmy nodded, but with a smirk. "Right. But sources close to the studio say otherwise. They say Marvel actually pushed you out. Said you were becoming too difficult to work with on set?" The studio grew still. Hugh's hands gripped the arms of his chair. "I'm sorry. What sources are you referring to?" he asked, voice calm but coiled. Jimmy shrugged it off. "Oh, you know how it is. People talk. Anyway, let's move on to something even more interesting. Your marriage has been in the headlines lately, hasn't it?" Hugh's demeanor changed instantly. His voice dropped. "I'm here to talk about my Broadway show, Jimmy." "Of course," Jimmy said, smiling with false concern. "But our viewers are curious. There've been rumors. Some say your wife's been seen with her divorce attorney more than once this month." Hugh's voice was dangerously quiet. "You need to be very careful about what you're saying." But Jimmy kept going, misreading the tone, or choosing to ignore it. "Hey, I'm just reporting what's out there. But between the career stuff and the marriage rumors, it must be tough being Hugh Jackman right now. I mean, really. What do you have left?" Silence fell over the studio. Hugh stared at him. His breathing was steady, but the tension in his body was unmistakable. "What do I have left?" he repeated, voice low and sharp. It made the room lean in. Jimmy, somehow still unaware, doubled down. "No more Wolverine. Broadway doesn't pay like movies. Marriage on the rocks, according to the tabloids. And let's face it, you're not getting any younger in a business that worships youth." Hugh let out a cold, humorless laugh. "You know what, Jimmy? I came here to talk about something I care about, something I love. Instead, you ambush me with tabloid trash." Jimmy threw up his hands in mock innocence. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I'm just asking the questions people want answered." "Legitimate questions?" Hugh's voice rose slightly, the first crack in his calm. You call spreading unverified gossip about my marriage and career legitimate? Jimmy shrugged. Look, if there's nothing to hide, then what's the big deal? Just deny it, and we move on. Hugh leaned forward, eyes locked on Jimmy's. The big deal is that you're sitting here on national television, making up stories about my personal life for your own entertainment. I'm not making anything up, Jimmy protested, but his confidence was starting to waver as he realized Hugh wasn't backing down. I'm just asking about things that are already public knowledge. Public knowledge? Hugh's voice rose, anger now impossible to contain. Show me one credible source that says any of what you just claimed. Show me one legitimate publication that reported these so-called facts. Jimmy shuffled his cards nervously. Well, I mean, it's all over social media. Hugh cut him off, venom in his tone. So, you're basing your interview questions on social media gossip? Is that what passes for journalism on this show now? The tension in the studio was palpable. Camera operators exchanged nervous glances. Audience, members pulled out phones. Jimmy was beginning to realize he'd seriously miscalculated. Look, Hugh, maybe we got off on the wrong foot here. Jimmy tried to backtrack. Why don't we just talk about your show? But Hugh was far from finished. No, Jimmy, I think we need to address what just happened here. You invited me on your show, presumably to promote my work, and instead you decided to launch a personal attack based on tabloid gossip and social media rumors. Jimmy's trademark smirk was gone, replaced by genuine concern, as the situation spiraled out of control. I was just trying to have some fun, Hugh. You know how these interviews go. Hugh responded with the precision of someone pushed beyond his breaking point, ready to fight back with everything he had. Fun. His voice cut through the studio like a blade. You think attacking someone's marriage and spreading lies about their career is fun? Is that what you call entertainment? Jimmy tried to laugh it off, but it came out forced and hollow. Come on, Hugh. You're being a little dramatic here. This is late-night television. We're supposed to have a good time. Hugh stood, towering over Jimmy, who remained seated and suddenly looked much smaller. Let me tell you what would be a good time, Jimmy. A good time would be having a host who actually prepared legitimate questions about the project I came here to discuss. The audience was silent, phones recording what everyone knew was television history unfolding. Jimmy's producers signaled frantically from behind the cameras, but there was no stopping what was happening. Now you, please. Jimmy gestured weakly. Let's just reset here and talk about your Broadway show. Hugh stayed standing, commanding the entire studio. Reset? You think you can just reset after what you did? You just spent 10 minutes trying to destroy my reputation on national television, and now you want to reset? Jimmy's nervous laughter filled the silence. Look, I think you're taking this way too seriously. We were just having a conversation. A conversation? Hugh's eyes flashed with rage. Is that what you call it, when you accuse someone of being unemployed, difficult to work with, and getting divorced, all without a shred of evidence? That's your idea of conversation? Jimmy shifted uncomfortably, clearly regretting pushing so hard. I was just repeating what I heard. What you heard. From who, exactly? Hugh interrupted, voice booming through the studio. Give me names, Jimmy. Give me sources. If you're going to sit there and destroy someone's character, at least have the courage to back it up with facts. Color drained from Jimmy's face as he realized he had no answers. Well, I mean, there are always rumors in Hollywood. Rumors? Hugh leaned closer, face inches from Jimmy's. So you built an entire interview around rumors. You brought me here under false pretenses to ambush me with gossip. Jimmy tried to regain control. Now hold on, Hugh. You're making this sound worse than it is, Jimmy said defensively. I ask tough questions. That's what I do. Hugh straightened, his laugh bitter and cold. Tough questions? Jimmy, a tough question would be asking about the challenges of transitioning from film to theater, or about the physical demands of performing 8 shows a week. What you did wasn't tough questioning. It was character assassination. The studio audience was riveted, watching one of the most intense confrontations in late-night television history unfold live. Jimmy's usual confidence had completely evaporated. I think you're overreacting, Jimmy said weakly, but his voice lacked conviction. Overreacting? Hugh's tone rose. My wife is watching this show right now, Jimmy. My children might see clips of this online. You just told millions of people my marriage is falling apart, based on absolutely nothing. And you think I'm overreacting? Jimmy opened his mouth to reply, but Hugh wasn't done. And what about these so-called career struggles you mentioned? You said movie offers dried up, that I was pushed out of the Wolverine franchise, that I'm too difficult to work with. Where exactly did you get that information? Jimmy fumbled with his notes. There were reports. What reports? Hugh demanded. Show me the reports. Show the audience these credible sources you're basing your questions on. A heavy silence filled the studio, as Jimmy realized he had nothing. His entire attack was built on gossip and speculation, and now he was being held accountable in front of millions. I don't have them with me right now, Jimmy admitted quietly. Hugh's expression twisted into one of pure disgust. You don't have them because they don't exist. You made this whole thing up, didn't you? You decided before I even came out here that you were going to humiliate me for your own entertainment. Jimmy's voice dropped to a whisper. That wasn't my intention. Your intention? Hugh's anger deepened. Your intention was to create viral moments at my expense, to generate headlines by destroying someone's reputation with lies and rumors. The audience was completely captivated, witnessing a masterclass in pushing back when pushed too far. Jimmy looked like he wanted to disappear into his chair. Let me tell you something about intentions, Jimmy, Hugh said, his voice commanding now. My intention tonight was to share my passion for theater with your audience, to talk about the incredible cast I'm working with and the story we're telling on stage. Jimmy nodded frantically. We can still do that. We can talk about the show. Hugh shook his head slowly. No, Jimmy, we can't, because you've just shown you have no interest in legitimate conversation. You've revealed to your audience exactly what kind of person you are. The words hung heavy in the air like an unshakable accusation. Jimmy's face flushed, his usual cockiness replaced by clear distress. What kind of person am I? He asked, trying to sound indignant but failing miserably. Hugh's reply was calm and devastating. The kind of person who invites guests onto his show, only to ambush them with lies. The kind of person who thinks other people's pain and struggles are material for comedy. The kind of person who has so little respect for the truth that he'll say anything for a cheap laugh. Jimmy was visibly shaking now, completely out of his depth. Hugh, please, can we just pretend this didn't happen? Can we just move on like you didn't spend 15 minutes trying to destroy my reputation? Hugh cut him off sharply. The studio was so silent you could hear the hum of the cameras. Every person in the building was transfixed. I'm sorry, Jimmy finally said, but the words sounded empty and desperate. Hugh stared for a long moment before replying. Sorry? You're sorry? Do you have any idea what you've just done? Do you understand that your lies will be online forever? That my family will have to see this garbage? Jimmy's apology only made things worse, and Hugh wasn't finished. His gaze was unwavering, his presence filling the entire studio. Jimmy's weak apology hung in the air like smoke from a fire still burning. You know what's really pathetic? Hugh's voice was calm, but that made it all the more terrifying. You actually think sorry fixes this. You think you can spend 20 minutes destroying someone and then just say? It all could have gone away with one word. Jimmy desperately glanced toward his producers for help, but they were just as stunned as everyone else. Hugh, I really didn't mean for this to get so out of hand, Jimmy stammered. Out of hand? Hugh laughed, no humor in it whatsoever. Jimmy, this got out of hand the moment you decided to base your entire interview on tabloid gossip and social media rumors. It got out of hand when you chose to attack my marriage and my career without a shred of evidence. The audience was mesmerized as Hugh methodically dismantled Jimmy's credibility piece by piece. Jimmy tried to interrupt, but Hugh cut him off sharply. No, you don't get to talk right now. You've done enough talking. Now it's my turn. His voice carried the authority of someone pushed beyond every limit. You want to know what's really going on with my career? Hugh continued. I just signed a 3-picture deal worth more money than you'll make in your entire lifetime. Want to know about my marriage? My wife and I just celebrated our anniversary last month. We've never been happier. Jimmy's face went even paler. He realized just how badly he had miscalculated. But here's the thing, Hugh said, voice steely. I shouldn't have to defend my personal life to you or anyone else. The fact that I even have to address these lies shows just how low you've sunk. Jimmy tried to speak again. I was just trying to... Trying to what? Hugh's anger flared again. Trying to humiliate me? Trying to create viral content at my expense? Trying to boost your ratings by destroying someone's reputation? The studio was deathly silent, except for Hugh's cutting voice. Let me tell you what you've accomplished tonight, Jimmy. You've shown everyone watching that you have no integrity, no professionalism, and no respect for the people who come. On your show, you've demonstrated you're willing to spread lies and rumors just to get a reaction. Jimmy was visibly sweating now, his usual composure completely shattered. Hugh, please, I think we should take a commercial break. Oh, no, Jimmy. Hugh's voice rose again. We're not taking a break. You started this conversation, and we're going to finish it. Right here, right now, in front of everyone. The audience sat on the edge of their seats, witnessing television history, as Hugh delivered his devastating takedown. You know what's the saddest part of all this? I actually used to respect you. I thought you were one of the good ones in this business. I thought you understood that the people who come on your show are human beings, not just content for your entertainment. Jimmy's voice was barely audible. I do understand that. No, you don't, Hugh snapped immediately. If you did, you never would have ambushed me with lies about my personal life. If you did, you would have asked me about my work, my passions, the things I actually came here to discuss. Hugh began pacing, his energy filling the entire studio. Jimmy sat frozen in his chair. Instead, you chose to embarrass me, humiliate me, and damage my reputation based on nothing but gossip and speculation. You attacked my marriage, my career, and my character without any regard for the truth. Jimmy made one last desperate attempt. Look, maybe I made some mistakes tonight, but we can fix this. Hugh stopped pacing and stared directly at him, eyes blazing with fury. Fix this? How exactly do you plan to fix this, Jimmy? Are you going to call every person who watched tonight and tell them you made it all up? Are you going to personally apologize to my wife and children for the lies you just told about our family? The weight of Hugh's words crushed Jimmy further into his chair. No answers, no solutions, no way out of the hole he'd dug. You can't fix this, Hugh said relentlessly. You can't undo what you just did. Those lies you told, they're going to be online forever. They're going to be clipped and shared, taken out of context for years to come. Jimmy's voice was shaking now. I never wanted it to go this far. But it did, didn't it? Hugh's voice was like steel. And whose fault is that? Did someone force you to spread those rumors? Did someone make you attack my personal life, or did you choose to do that all by yourself? The studio audience was captivated, watching Jimmy unravel under the weight of his own actions, while Hugh stood over him like a force of nature. You chose this, Jimmy. You chose cheap laughs over basic human decency. You chose viral moments over honest journalism. You chose to attack someone who came here in good faith, to promote their work. Jimmy struggled to even meet Hugh's gaze. His shame was obvious to everyone watching. And you know what else you chose? Hugh's voice dropped to a whisper that carried more power than his shouts. You chose to show your audience who you really are, not the charming host on TV, but the real you, the you that thinks other people's pain is entertainment. Hugh straightened to his full height, towering over the cowering talk show host like a giant among children. So thank you, Jimmy. Thank you for showing everyone what happens when someone with no integrity tries to attack someone who actually has principles. Thank you for showing the difference between someone who builds people up and someone who tears them down. Jimmy was completely silent now, no defense left. I came here tonight to talk about theater, about art, about something beautiful that brings people together. Instead, you turned it into this circus, this attack, this pathetic display of what passes for entertainment in your world. Hugh looked directly into the camera, addressing the audience at home rather than Jimmy. To everyone watching at home, this is what I want you to remember. When someone invites you somewhere and then attacks you with lies, don't just sit there and take it. Stand up for yourself. Demand better. Expect truth instead of gossip. He turned back to Jimmy one last time. As for you, Jimmy, I hope it was worth it. I hope those cheap shots you took at my family were worth destroying whatever credibilities you had left. I hope the fleeting entertainment value was worth showing the world who you really are. Hugh began walking toward the exit, then stopped and delivered one final, devastating blow. Oh, and Jimmy, next time you want to interview, me don't bother calling. I don't associate with people who have so little respect for truth and basic human decency. With that, Hugh Jackman walked off the stage, leaving Jimmy Kimmel alone in front of a stunned studio audience that had just witnessed one of the most brutal takedowns in television history. The silence that followed was deafening, broken only by the fading sound of Hugh's footsteps disappearing backstage. Jimmy sat there for what felt like an eternity, staring at his hands, knowing every second of his humiliation had been captured on camera, soon to be viewed by millions worldwide. And there you have it, folks. One of the most intense confrontations ever captured on live television, showing what happens when someone finally stands up to a bully hiding behind their platform. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and drop your thoughts below. Was Hugh Jackman right to call out Jimmy Kimmel like that? Or did he go too far? Let me know in the comments.